The M79 is the worst weapon in Cold War zombies. First, the weapon only has 12 bullets and shoots one at a time, making it extremely slow. Second, the weapon does a lot of self-damage, only needing 2 shots to kill you. The weapon also does less damage than all the other specialists and launchers. Knowing this, I've decided to beat every single Cold War Easter egg with only the M79. I go down a lot, trust me. So, relax and enjoy. First, Die Maschine, the first Cold War Zombies map. Many look fondly upon this map due to its simplicity. We start off the map by turning on power and activating this particle collider. I just recently learned that this is a particle collider, like the one from The Flash, although I think the one from The Flash is a lot bigger. Anyway, I went into the Dark Aether and got myself the parts for Pack-a-Punch. I've always said how much I love the simplicity of Pack-a-Punch on this map. It's easy but kinda cool, you know? Anyways, I returned back to the main map where I somehow fucking downed myself even though I'm a whole mile away from the explosion. After this, I then kill this Megaton and collect the keycard. After this, I decide to buy PhD because I don't want any more unnecessary downs. I then collect the 3 parts needed for the Aetherscope. All 3 parts spawn in different orders, so the parts never change locations, but they spawn in different orders. I then use the keycard from earlier to collect the Die Shockwave remote. I then collect a huge amount of zombies and suck them all in. I then discharge and collect the Die Shockwave. I honestly think there is not a single wonder weapon in Call of Duty Zombies gayer than the Die Shockwave. I forgot to craft up the Aetherscope, so I do that now. After this, I go back into the Dark Aether and collect Dr. Vogel's journal when this massive ass red motherfucker bitch slapped me. I then gave him the book and gave his 2 other twins the book as well. I then go back and put the password into this computer. This then activates, well, something, I don't really know. Now we need to collect the 4 variants for the Die Shockwave. I first suck off 3 different rocks across the map and shoot them at this box. This gives me access to the electric variant, which is easily the best variant in the game. Next, I need to suck this canister, which is outside of the map. I then need to go downstairs and put this canister in the corner and then get a bunch of Plague Hound kills. After slaughtering enough of the Plague Hounds, I then need to bring the canister back up and break it on top of this box. This gives me access to the Nova 5 variant of the Die Shockwave. For the next step of the Easter egg, I actually have to buy a weapon because you can, believe it or not open up the fuse box with explosive weapons. With the fuse, I then put it into this machine, which opens this box. This gives me the fire variant, which is, well, pretty ass. Next, I need to shoot this box off the top of Noctur and Toten, which gives me this empty flask. I then need to wait for a Megaton to spawn in and have him shoot this tree. Once he does, I then need to put the flask underneath it, and I'm given this filled flask. I then need to bring it back downstairs and use it on this box, which gives me access to the ice variant of the Die Shockwave. Next, we need to get each of the 4 variants of the Die Shockwaves and shoot it at this pod. I really do love the idea behind this Easter egg, although I do wish that there was a way to upgrade the Die Shockwave variants, kind of like Origins. Next, I need to use this wrench that I got earlier to open up this tank. This causes a zombie to come out the top. I then need to throw a Simtex at the top of it, which causes it to shoot. The tank bullet forces this metal ball to drop to the ground. I then need to bring it back downstairs and put it inside this box. Next, we gotta separate a Megaton and feed them inside this machine. A really sick step and one of the most cinematic steps in my opinion. Next, I need to put them back together and infuse them with Dr. Vogel's consciousness. At this point, we're pretty much at the boss fight. I just need to go back into the Dark Aether and talk to Dr. Vogel. He yaps about how much he misses his family. I pick up the photo and am transported to the boss fight arena, which is just the underground section of this map. And like that, we're in the boss fight. The M79 does a lot of damage against zombies and Plague Hounds, but not much against the Megatons. So they were pretty much just fucking me the entire boss fight. But I was able to just barely get past it using Ring of Fire. In my opinion, this is the most boring and worst boss fight in Cold War. Just my personal opinion, but I easily beat the boss fight and have to run to the top of the map while dodging these blue laser things. On everything I love, I'm telling you guys, these blue lasers have the smallest hitbox imaginable. I have never gotten hit by any of these lasers, and I've done this map about 10 times. But with that, we've officially beaten the first Cold War Zombies map, Die Maschine. I hate to play it, but next up is Firebase Z. The map is objectively bad and is very, very bland. But anyways, I begin the map by going through this portal to the main part of the map. I then must turn on all 3 generators. This step is taken right out of Origins, although it's a lot easier and honestly, you can do it while sleeping. Next, I have to go back and forth talking to Ravenov and Dr. Peck. Both of them are yapping about, well, only God knows what. To be fair, I really didn't pay attention to this map's, main story because, as I said earlier, the map's bland, boring, and it's pretty ass. Eventually, both of them shut the fuck up and Ravenov gives me this keycard. I then use this keycard to open up a bunch of lockers across the map. Each of them have these bottles with whatever the fuck they are, I don't know. I have to put them inside this 1970s vacuum cleaner, which spawns in a bunch of hellhounds. I soon pick up this goofy ass machine and attach it to Dr. Peck's air ventilation system. This causes Dr. Peck to dance around with his imaginary wife. I honestly relate to Dr. Peck because neither of us are ever getting any bitches. Next, I have to do possibly the worst COD Zombies Easter egg step ever, and yes, I know BF4 exists. I have to trap a bunch of mimics inside these essence traps. The mimics are hidden as props across the map. Now, the main problem with this step is there are so many things you can fuck up. You could, first of all, you could lose the mimic, you could kill the mimic accidentally, you could break the essence trap while trying to capture the mimic. There are too many things that could go wrong. Took me 30 minutes in real life, but once I was done, I was given a keycard. Next, I decided to do this map side Easter egg by staring at Mr. Peaks, the bunny. It transported me to this dark field where I had to shoot a bunch of lights. The Easter egg is extremely bland, but at least it gave me free jug. Next, I used the keycard from the Mimic step to open up this portal in that massive dome. I'm telling you, every single portal in Cold War looks the exact same. Next, I had to get this Aether meter in a locker next to Dr. Peck. This allowed me to collect 3 canisters around the map. The first one was this lockdown canister. It was extremely easy. It has to have been the easiest lockdown I have ever done in Call of Duty Zombies. Next, I have to search a bunch of canisters. All of them have this black mist inside of them, but one of them doesn't, it only has white. At this point, I needed the Ray K for the rest of this Easter egg, so I got it after doing a few challenges. I then had to use the Ray K's secondary mode to stun this canister and pick it up. Next, I had to put each of the Aether canisters and all of the Aether generators across the map. Next, I had to do the second worst Easter egg step on this map. The Mimic step is still number 1. But for this step, I had to realign these satellites, and for some reason the zombies can still see me, so it took me a while. But once I did, a bunch of red lights started hitting the main satellite in the middle of the map. And with that, Samantha Maxis comes out of the dark ether. This is the only part of the Easter eggs story I actually paid attention to. But then I am transported to this map's boss fight, and let me tell you, this definitely takes the cake for the worst boss fight in Cold War. All I had to do was pop a ring of fire and go crazy. One thing I do love is the look and design of Order. All I wished was that the fight was just a little bit harder, but I soon defeat Order, and with that I have officially beaten Cold War's second map, Firebase Z. Thank God, we've officially reached the best Cold War Zombies map, Mauer Not to glaze, but every single part of this map is absolutely perfect. But anyways, I failed to turn on power and have to kill the 2 Tempest and collect their fuses. I then put the fuses in the fuse box and repair power. And with that, I then have to activate Pack-a-Punch. In my opinion, this map has the most unique Pack-a-Punch. But after doing that, I then collect the satellite piece, which is needed to upgrade Klaus. I then put Brain Rot on my gun and use a zombie to open up this door and collect Klaus's hands. This animation is so sick. Klaus literally strangled someone and you have to take it off of his dead body. Next, I have to kill this off-brand Panzer Soldat. They never should have renamed it. Kranzy Soldat does not sound the same. After this, I fix Klaus and use him to open up this locker. I then gotta use that black light within the locker to find 3 2-digit codes around the map and put them into this safe. This gives me a free Cerberus wonder weapon, but ultimately I fail to realize there were tons of zombies behind me and go down on round 12. Again, I have no plans of using the Cerberus Wonder Weapon to kill zombies, but I do need to use it to collect a bunch of parts around the map that I would later use to upgrade Klaus. Again, I have to use Klaus to break open this wall. I feel so bad for Klaus for always using him. I then have to use one of the weapon mods for the Cerberus to open up this metal wall. I then use the parts from earlier to upgrade Klaus, and this step is genuinely difficult. I feel as if many people underestimate this step. I have failed this step so many times. I don't know how I was able to do it with this weapon, but I did. At this point, I go back down into the laboratory to collect some empty Ethereum canisters and some essence traps. I throw the essence trap at the box. This causes a bunch of tempests to spawn in. Once I kill all of them, it fills up the Ethereum canister. I then have to bring the Ethereum canister back downstairs and put it inside this weird looking machine. Now I had to do that step 2 more times. Once completed, I had to move on to the next step, and that was using Klaus to stop a train. This guy's always getting abused. Now, funny enough, I accidentally entered the train too early and almost died. I was left on 1 HP because of Juggernaut. But I was able to get all of the parts on the train. One of them was the keycode, and one of them was this fusion reactor that I had to put in the machine. Next, I used the keycode from the train to summon in an HVT. Now, this step was extremely difficult in my opinion. The Megaton and the 2 mimics were so beefy, and this gun did absolutely no damage to them. After putting what felt like 1,000 bullets into the mimics and Megaton, I was finally given 2 uranium rocks. I had to craft them into these refined uranium devices and put them onto 2 separate zip lines. Once both of them were on, they both ran towards each other, collided, and created, well, you tell me, I have no clue. Next, I put the uranium on the warhead, and since this game hates me, I had to do that step twice. But after that, I had finally entered the boss fight against Valentina. Valentina is the best boss fight in Cold War. First of all, she has the most aura in the entire game. Her resting pose is sitting on a chair of aether crystals. That is dope as fuck. Second of all, she's the hardest boss fight in Cold War. She has so many attacks and does such easy damage to you, it's crazy. Valentina's 3 main abilities are first her ability to launch these yellow crystals at you. They do so much damage to your shield and so much damage to your health. It is broken. Her second main ability is her ability to pick up a bunch of zombies at once and heal off of them. This is super annoying because halfway through the boss fight, she could just get half of her health back. And lastly, her third main ability is her wipe ability, which will automatically down you if you're in her line of sight. It's terrible. Somehow, I completed the entire boss fight without going down once. Don't ask me how. I'd say it's luck. Now, the boss fight did take a long ass time because this gun was chipping away at her health slowly. But now we are in this sick ass cutscene. Honestly, Cold War's cutscenes go very unappreciated. They're dope. And finally, we are upon the final step of this Easter egg, which is escorting Klaus into the Dark Aether. This step is extremely saddening as we see kind of the death of Klaus. Technically, he's not dead, just in the Dark Aether. I'm praying we see him again in Black Ops 6, but there's no guarantees. A wonderfully made, story-driven Easter egg. Mauer de Toten is a masterpiece. But with that, we've officially beaten Mauer de Toten. Finally, Forsaken. The map is creative and unique, but the Easter egg is very short and, in my opinion, is the worst Easter egg in Cold War. Only a few minutes into the map and I'm already down. I decided to try knifing the zombies instead of shooting them as I knew I'd just blow myself up. Anyway, I collect the 4 parts and repair the portal. I enter into the laboratory area of this map. This area is truly a masterpiece. I then kill the mimic to enter into the main portal and turn on power. Well, it doesn't really turn on power, but it does something. I then activate the Easter egg and it takes me into the main cutscene for this map. I feel like 90% of the community has no clue what's going on in this cutscene, but if you know, you will low-key get hard to this. Like, it is such a good storyline cutscene. It actually tells you exactly what's going to happen in this map and really has a big plot twist, you know? After this, I immediately do some challenges to get the crystal axe, as it will be needed later on for the Easter egg. Next, I do the tank Easter egg, which requires me to fill 4 different tanks with this red substance. It's pretty much just a hard lockdown. It's actually kind of difficult because there's so many different mini bosses and so many zombies that it actually gets kind of hard. But I was able to get through it and get this part for the neutralizer, which is the entire point of this Easter egg. I then get the next part after this Megaton gives me back shots in this corner. For the next step of the Easter egg, I had to use dead wire next to this machine in the arcade. But I soon realized that explosive weapons don't really work with this Easter egg step, so it forced me to have to buy this ball weapon, or LMG, and then activate it. Now this has to be my favorite part of this Easter egg. This step is actually low-key fun. We have to drive an RC car into this hidden spot and explode it. It gives me another part for the neutralizer. For the next step of the Easter egg, I have to find these 3 massive crystals across the map and shoot the 3 flying orbs around them. Once all 3 are destroyed, I have to use the crystal axe main form to break the crystal, which drops this miniature crystal. I then have to throw this crystal inside an abomination's mouth. Now, as you can see, I'm pretty bad at this step and missed twice, but the 3rd time I got it, after it was inside of him, I then had to kill him. He then dropped this like refined orange crystal. Now we have to do this step 2 more times. As I said earlier, this Easter egg is not very fun. It's quite repetitive and is very short. Because at this point, I now have to build the neutralizer and I'm already about to enter the boss fight. Now we have to follow the neutralizer in this bubble. It is pretty much like Togger Toten's boss fight. We do have to get fuel for it every few minutes, but that's about it. There's not many zombies either. But at this point, it is time that we enter into the main boss fight. The boss fight is the only good part of this map's Easter egg. First, I need to destroy the Forsaken's shield. Now that is extremely hard with this weapon, as it is constantly arching, so I can't really aim straight, but I eventually take out its shield. And like that, I charge up both the cannons and fire upon the Forsaken. I honestly love the format of this boss fight. I love that we are not only shooting at the Forsaken himself, we are charging up the cannons and we are taking him down. And like that, we officially beat the Forsaken. I love this animation where the Forsaken is sucked into this ball. We now know that this ball is going to be present on Liberty Falls and is going to continue in the Dark Aether storyline. But like that, we have officially beaten the map Forsaken. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing. It took a long time, and I'll see you guys next time.